Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be on the show today. Guess what? This is another great Friday, Money Matters Live, and I have a great guest with me. Mr. Cameron Robbins will be taking us on setting up a business legacy. Setting up a business legacy, meaning that a business that's just beyond you, the business that can endure the times and be there for years even after you're gone. But before I bring him on board, I'd like to just introduce what the show is all about. What is Money Matters? Money Matters is a movement where we talk about money, how to make, multiply, and manage money. We'll learn here about financial discipline, financial literacy, financial planning, everything we need to know about money and how money works. We talk about savings and we talk about not just having your money in the savings. Where do you put your money? What investment portfolio can you put your money? Where can your money be so your money is working passively, generating income? Beyond that, we also talk about businesses you can do in the 21st century. We talk about, yes, you have a business. How do you get your business to in front of the people who needs your business? How do you get them login? How do you get into the business? How? And so these are things we talk about. We talk about life insurance. We talk about health insurance. You want to shield and protect yourself for your loved ones. And beyond that, we talk about how to keep this money and how to manage, multiply this money. So beyond you, the money is that you can help families, you can help generations after you, you can sponsor people to school, you can set up, things that will leave a mark in the sand of times. And so today, I'd like to just introduce myself before I bring in my guest. My name is Sandra Uko. I'm a leadership coach, speaker, and trainer. I'm an IT sales expert of over 20 years, a best-selling author, a member of the Toastmaster as a vice president, public relations, and an area director. And just recently got gifted the Presidential Lifetime Award. And so the next person you get to see is my guest. He's no other person than Mr. Cameron himself. So he's going to be telling us all he's up to in his word. So I'm glad to have him on stage. So glad to have you, sir.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Here. So you're welcome. My audience would like to know you. So tell us what you've been up to in your word. And how do we get to know you better so that we can do business with you and get to know you and learn from you?
Okay, I can do that. I Because of the theme of your show, it's a little bit challenging for me to know exactly where to start. You see, I create eternal legacies, but I do it in a way that's slightly different than most people might think of because I'm a portrait painter and a figurative sculptor. The work you see behind me
Yeah.
are my paintings that I've done. So picture this. Picture the most beautiful home you can imagine. Now imagine your great grandchildren standing around a portrait painting of you.
Hmm.
Because of the longevity of this kind of work, your great grandchildren will still have an image of you that is vibrant and alive. So imagine them standing around telling each other stories of the person who built the empire which they have inherited. That's the kind of legacy I create. So it's a little bit different than talking about trusts and annuities and family offices and generational wealth in normal terms. But as you were doing your introduction, it inspired me to hit a couple of ideas that I talk about often, but I don't hear other people talk about very often in any sphere. And when we talk about generational wealth, when we talk about wealth creation, when we talk about being in business, the fundamental underlying layer of all of it is exchanges of value. So whether we're talking about old-fashioned barter or cash currency or central bank digital currencies, there will always be mechanisms for exchanging value. That's never going away. So that's point one. When people think about going into business, when people are in business, it's important to remember exactly what it is we're doing, and that is making exchanges of value. Money, in a way, is just a mechanism for
Exchange.
measuring the exchange, facilitating the exchange, and measuring the level of value.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great one. So before we go deep into the show and you start taking us on the ride, let me
Mhm.
just start by doing an intro. So thank you so much. Welcome back to the show. So this time around, we want to learn from you. How long have you been in the business? What propelled you? What was your passion? What did you study in school? Because we find that sometimes people go to school to learn
Mhm.
how to make hair, but they come out of school, they're doing something else. There must be a passion and a driving force that has kept you
Right.
in business for so many years. So we want to learn from you. We'll stay, watch you, and listen and get and gather the nuggets from you.
Well, do my best. I've always been an artist, and except for a period where I was listening to the people who say things like, "That's nice, but what are you going to do for a real job?" I've always been an artist. I've always wanted to be an artist professionally. I create things because I can't help it. I can't stop myself. And so it's never really been a question of would I pursue art as a career? It's only ever really been a question of how will I make that work? And what specific way will the creative impulse manifest itself? Uh, Something that is common with most creatives, it seems, is that when somebody's creative, they can express that creativity in a variety of ways. They can sing, they can dance, they can act, they can write, they can draw, just on and on and on. They're capable of most of it, if not all of it. But in order to become world class at whatever it is you want to do, we have to get laser focused on something.
True.
For instance, um, there are any number of actors. Sylvester Stallone is a perfect example. Uh, he's a painter. Very few people know that, and very few people have ever seen his work. If he had tried to build a career as an actor and a writer and a painter and a this and a that, we might never have heard of him because he picked one thing and became incredibly good at it. In his
True.
case, it was screenwriting. And that became the vehicle that launched his acting career, but the writer came first. And as he developed success there in those domains, it bought him the freedom to explore his other creative impulses, which in his case is painting. He's actually rather good. So that's one point. Um, in my case, I've gravitated towards portrait painting because all of my work has always been about people. And I describe myself as being exceedingly pro human. So when I paint a portrait, I'm striving to crystallize a vision of the ultimate version of that person, to create a kind of magic mirror. So on the good days, it's a celebration of all that that person has already accomplished. And on the bad days, it's a powerful personal avatar that beckons them onward to fulfill their destiny. And that's the kind of image that will last forever. I mean, think about some of the most well-known people in history. Think of the Mona Lisa, or the girl with the pearl earring, or the pharaoh Tutankhamun. The reason we know certain people even existed at all is because their portraits endured. The Mona Lisa is a portrait. The girl with the pearl earrings is a portrait. The Mask of Tutankhamun is a portrait, and so many others. So that's part of the tradition that I have attached myself to. Um, you asked kind of a multi-dimensional question that started me on this track. Please remind me of the
So
question because there were some other aspects I meant to
yeah, you
address.
spoke
But
about your passion And I said,
Oh,
what
right,
was the driving force that has kept you going in this business? Some people
right,
start a business after a certain period of time, they move from
yeah,
one business to the other, so such that you know them with multi-business.
right, right. Okay, so in my case, it is the drive to create, the passion to be an artist. I've had a lot of people say to me over the years, "I wish I knew what I wanted to do as clearly as you do." And I'm not sure they really want that. To know as clearly as I do what you want to do does not necessarily make it easier to execute. It doesn't necessarily make it easier to build a business around that. So, it's one of those the grass is always greener kind of things. I'm somewhat, you could say, trapped by that passion, by that drive, by that clarity of focus. I'm not very good at anything but what I do. And I've put everything I've got into doing this thing. And so all my eggs are in this basket. For a lot of people, that's very scary.
Very.
Uh,
So
but
if I
yeah,
may ask, you want to say something?
no, go ahead.
If I may ask,
Mhm.
do you do this for free or do you make money out of it?
This is my profession. This is what I do.
And so, has this been able to help you meet your bills, put food on the table, take care of your kids, send them to college?
Well, I don't have children yet, but every business is an ongoing experiment, and there are ups and downs, and you learn better ways of doing things. It's a continuously unfolding journey.
Okay, because I have someone who is so
Hmm.
passionate about drawing. I
Hmm.
became scared and I said, is this what you want to do for life? Are
Hmm.
you sure this can? I told him, I said, why didn't you get a professional career and use this as a side business whilst you're doing your professional career to generate income? You can grow this business by the side. Once this business is on that level of the professional business, such that
Hmm.
it's providing your bills, providing the money you need,
Hmm.
then you can sack your boss and become a business owner. What would you
How
say?
old how old is this person?
The person is 19 years old.
Okay. Um, I'd
He
love to
loves
talk with them.
drawing. He will sit down and just imagine, I want to put pictures together,
Right.
draw. And I'm like, oh my God, people thinking of being an engineer, people thinking of being a doctor, lawyer. Why would this be, very young, active, young looking man be thinking you
Hmm.
want to sit back and all you do is meditating, reflecting, and drawing. You spend hours doing this.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I love what you love, but I also
Hmm.
want you to know that you, as a young man, you got bills to pay. You
Right.
have things, college to pay for. So what
Right.
would you do? Wouldn't you? I thought that's what my thinking. Wouldn't you just try do something like an IT job, a remote job, grow this business along the side, so the business is up there, that people know your quality of pictures,
Right.
what you can put together, and they can patronize you and give you value for whatever services you're rendering.
It's very sensible advice. It's very common advice. Um, they do have a distinct advantage, being 19 years old. If I knew at 19 what I know now, and if I'd started implementing at that age, I'd be so much further ahead than I am now. There are a lot of things to consider in that advice. And first is the demotivating influence of doing a job that makes you miserable.
True.
The other thing is when I look at the economy, when I look at the job market, when I look at people in all professions, more and more it seems to me that we're all kind of in the same boat in terms of job stability and longevity. In other words, there isn't much.
True.
People change careers all the time. People change companies all the time. And so here's a couple examples of crazy businesses that who knew this was a thing. And I like these examples because they're good at illustrating the idea that you could do anything if and make it work if you do it the right way. Did you know that there are people who keep pet chickens? Did you know that there are companies that make and sell diapers for pet chickens?
Yes.
Unless you know people have pet chickens, unless you have a pet chicken, who would ever think, oh, maybe chicken diapers is a thing somewhere? My other favorite example is it's been years, but this was on the news years ago. There was a woman in the Midwest of the US who had a successful company making beanbag chairs in the size and shape of life-sized cows. Who would ever think to do that? But once somebody did, and she started doing it, and people saw it, they said, "Oh, I love it. I want that." So she had a successful business making life-sized cow-shaped beanbag chairs. And this goes back to my earlier point before the intro that all business is really just exchanges of value. Whatever value exchange you want to put your heart and soul into, there's a way to make it work. There are lots of ways to do it wrong, but that's true in all professions. Following mainstream career paths can, doesn't can't say will, but it can give you a well-trodden path that makes some of these things a little easier, that streamlines the process a little bit. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
True.
There's a lot of risk involved,
Yeah, it is.
and there's a lot of learning by failure, but that's also true of life in general for everyone. So again, it's to my mind, it's a little bit of a fallacy to think, oh, just become an engineer, just become a lawyer, just become an IT professional, and build your art business on the side, because the way that actually plays out is a lot of people are miserable in their IT career and their art business never gets off the launch pad. And yet there are other people who just put all their eggs in one basket and go for it and find a way to make it work. That's not easy. There's a lot of risk involved. You need a support system of friends and family who are encouraging. You need a network. That's the biggest thing. Anything you want to go into is network. And so if I were to give one piece of advice to young people, whether you want to go down a mainstream professional route or if you want to build a business, whether that's an art business or any other kind, start networking now.
True.
Start networking while you're in college or university. Start networking while you're in high school, for goodness sake. There are endless virtual networks available now that were not around when I was your age or their age. And they would be, the people in there would be delighted that somebody that young was taking their life that seriously and wanting to start networking. Nobody would think less of you if you showed up and said, I'm still a student and I don't know what I want to do. I just want to start building a network. They would say, awesome, great, delighted you're here. So
Very
that's
true.
my number one piece of advice.
Number one, that's awesome. And that I'm very great at networking because it's actually the background and the backbone of any business.
Hmm.
I was chatting with a friend just a few minutes before this session. And I said, guess what? I have over 8,000 contacts on my phone.
Okay.
And he screamed and said, where did you get them from? I said, but do you know I've done several business? I've run
Mm-hmm.
a grocery store. I've done a laundry shop. I've done a bakery. I said, all of these, I've met different people who had come to work for me. And
Hmm.
so I keep numbers. I don't discard people's number.
Good.
I may not have gotten in touch with you for 20 years, but someday I might just be scrolling through my phone. I could just say, hi, how you doing?
Hmm.
But would you imagine last week, a friend I knew when I was a teenager, you can imagine 30
Hmm.
years, I just said hi to her. The first thing she said, who are you? I
Right.
described myself and said, I am this person. I am Nonya, because I gave her my middle name. And she
Mm.
said, "For where did you get my number from?" I said, "You gave me your number several years ago, but I never had need for the number. But today I
Mm.
just thought to say hi." She was so excited. We were on phone for 30 minutes. He was like,
Absolutely.
we're catching up again and we were sharing information. Guess what? She said,
What?
"What state are you? I have friends in Maryland. I'm going to be hooking you with my friends." That's
Nice.
next.
Yes. Yes.
She's still
You know,
in Nigeria, but she's hooking me up with friends in Maryland. So you go ahead,
nice.
sir.
Nice. Yeah. There's two really important points in there. And the number one is really grab onto this. Anybody listening, people love to be noticed,
True.
especially in a positive way. So, in anything you do, whether that's a family relationship, a friendship, or a business relationship, just say I think it's the translation of namaste. I see you. And so, yeah, you just spoke to somebody that you haven't seen since high school, is what I heard
Yeah.
a long, long time ago. They don't remember who you are. They can't remember how they know you. And they're a little uncomfortable because, like, how did you get my number? What do you want? And then as you started to lay it out, like, well, we went to high school together. I'm this person. The dots start to connect in their mind. And suddenly they're like, you called me. You know that I exist.
Oh my God. That's
You
powerful.
know, it's so powerful. And
Terribly
it's so
powerful.
powerful to recognize one, we all need it,
We do.
but it's also like a secret weapon in business. Like, okay, however much you feel that need yourself, give what you're needing to other people and watch them light up, watch them open up, watch
True.
them share their network with you, watch them give you opportunities that they would never have given you if you just went around asking for an opportunity.
They wouldn't give you.
Right, right. Because we're so inundated with people all the time. Think of your phone. You can't go anywhere without your phone
True.
lighting up with people wanting to sell you something all day, every day.
True.
If we just went one step back and started with acknowledging somebody. In fact, I had this today. I joined a new LinkedIn group, and because many of my clients are going to be, in financial services industries, just high net worth individuals. So I join groups where I will find my clients. And I got an email from somebody on LinkedIn from this new group saying that they were impressed with my work in the finance and growth industry and then started launching into the program they wanted to sell me. And I thought, you clearly didn't read my bio. You just picked a name out of the group and spammed me.
True.
So it is kind of insulting to be approached that way. Now, I did bait the hook a little bit. We'll see if it goes anywhere. Instead of pointing this out to them and telling them off, which was my first impulse, I asked them a question. I said, what is it about my work in finance and growth that
You
you were
won't.
so impressed with? Tell me more about this.
They wouldn't be able to tell you anything.
They won't be able to say anything. So, one of two things will happen. They'll figure out that they made a mistake and they won't respond at all.
True. That's
Or
it.
they'll go and look at my bio to try to answer the question, realize that they were like, oh, I kind of stepped in it here. And maybe we'll actually have a real conversation. But it all starts with it's like, do you even know who you're talking to?
Hmm.
This is something I say to up and coming artists all the time. These are three really important questions, especially for artists, but it's useful for everybody.
Yeah.
What do you do? Why do you do it? Why should anyone care? Now, the third question can be kind of painful to listen to for some people, especially sensitive creative types, because they tend to hear that and go, "Oh, you're saying I'm worthless," and like, no, no, I'm asking you to answer the question.
Very critical question
Why should anyone care? I'm
about what you
challenging
do.
you Describe the value that you deliver in terms that are relevant to other people.
Hmm.
And so the story I started with, if I started out saying, well, I'm an artist. My work is art because I say it is, and it has value because I want it to. That's about the worst sales pitch in history. So
True.
instead, I tell people how it will change their lives. It's going to make you immortal in the same way as the Mona Lisa is immortal. Your great grandchildren will have an image of you that is still vibrant and alive long after you're gone. And
Hmm.
they'll look at that just like people look at the Mona Lisa, and they'll tell each other stories. They might even invent things to fill in the blanks because we still don't know who the Mona Lisa was. It'll give you a powerful professional image, a peerless professional image. Imagine a fancy office building. I mean, everybody uses photo portraits these days, from top finance and law firms to employee of the month at McDonald's.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're not, there's too many of them to be special. So imagine a top professional firm and you go in and they have large portrait paintings on the walls, kind of like these guys. What's that immediately going to say to people when they come visit your firm? It's going to say, these people are playing an entirely different game. They're operating on an entirely different level.
True.
Massive professional advantage without saying a word.
True.
And here's another one. Think about this, especially with high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals in business. Gift giving is just a thing. It's a human thing.
Yes.
Corporate gift
Everybody
giving
wants
is just a
gifts.
part of doing business. Well, they may not remember who gave them their third Rolex watch, but they will never forget the person who made them immortal. So, for the person who has everything, give them an eternal legacy. These are value deliveries that my work brings with it. These are terms that are relevant to the people who will live with it, who will purchase it, who will commission it. It doesn't talk about why I do it. It's putting things in terms that will matter to the people who will receive it. And whatever business you're in, we have to find that language. We have to describe what we do in terms that are relevant to the people that we hope to deliver our services to.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great one. That's a great one. Knowing what you have and knowing, and just like you rightly said, it's mind blowing.
Hmm.
It is having
Hmm.
something that lives thereafter after you,
Yeah, yeah,
and having a life to it, not just any kind of picture, but having a portrait that
right,
speaks.
right.
That's a great one. And you've just given me a great idea too, to be able to mentor these young youths that is saying he wants to continue to draw. I think like it
Yeah.
was some kind of life in it.
Oh, absolutely. But you have to do it right, and the earlier you start, the better off you're going to be. So I'd love to talk with them
Oh,
if
I
I can
appreciate that.
if I can help them succeed faster than I have and less painfully. I'm all for it.
Awesome,
Um,
awesome. I'm going to connect you with him after this
Absolutely.
meeting because it's awesome, helping our youth to find their bearing. A lot of times they have a passion. As parents, we want something else for them.
Sure.
So we need to find out, a midpoint where we can all meet. And if you find
Sure.
out somebody out there in the field already doing it and has already is a success in that field, you want to connect them so that they have
Yes.
a landing and a soft landing. Somebody to hold their hands and see them walk that path successfully.
Yes.
Awesome. This has been a great
Absolutely.
session for me, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers being on this show. I want to thank our viewers. I want to thank everyone that's on the show. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And it is said that a great leader is one who knows it and shares it with others. If this session has been of impact to you, please kindly share. Kindly help share with your loved ones. And so that they just give me a moment. I also want to check if there's any comment. Oh, Deborah Taylor, my mentor is here. Say, can you say more about the exchange of value?
Yes, actually, I'm glad you asked because there was one more. I didn't know if we were running out of time, but there was one more idea I wanted to share. Since the world's currency in most cases has been taken off of the gold standard and the silver standard, our paper currency is no longer a certificate for a hard asset like gold or silver.
Yeah,
That has turned money into nothing more than an idea.
true.
Now, what makes that work is because everyone has agreed to value money in the same way. We've all agreed to play the same game. The benefit there is that because money is nothing more than an idea, there is no limit to the number of ideas you can have.
Hmm.
Think about that one really carefully.
Yeah.
Chicken diapers, life sized cow shaped beanbag chairs, portrait paintings, annuities. Fill in that blank with anything. There is no limit to the number of ideas you can have. I may have an unfair advantage. I don't know what it's like to be anybody but me. But as a creative, I have had the experience of having more ideas than one person can act on in a single lifetime. And I tend to assume that everybody has a similar experience. But what I have observed with people is that everyone gets at least $1 million idea. And you know it's $1 million idea when it comes to you. You light up. You're like, I've just had $1 million idea. My personal belief, I don't think that idea would have come to you if you weren't capable of doing something with it.
True.
But the warning is the idea is not precious until it's turned into something. Number one, it's the execution that makes ideas valuable.
True.
It's the positioning and the presentation and the implementation of ideas that makes them valuable. Ideas are very low value all by themselves, but everything starts with an idea. But number two, if you got one idea, you can get more.
True.
So if you got that $1 million idea and never did anything with it, and then you see somebody who did it and you go, oh, I had that idea 15 years ago. Well, what makes you think you're the only one who is getting that memo?
Mm.
But go out and find another idea. Because
True.
really, again, back to the beginning, it's all just exchanges of value. And whatever the mechanism of exchange is, there will always be exchanges of value because humans will always need things. We will
Yeah.
always have problems. Business is all about solving problems more efficiently, more effectively, and more attractively than somebody else. And so back to that question, what do you do? Why do you do it? Why should anybody care? Why should anybody care is describing the problems you solve, which means you have to start with understanding the problems you solve, which
You
means you have to start with understanding people, which brings us back, without intending to, brings us back to paying attention to people,
true.
seeing people, talking with them, listening to them. And
Awesome.
so we get really trapped in our own head. And there's a lot more to know and it gets much easier to fast track success when we get out of our own heads and actually see what we're looking at, actually hear what we're hearing.
Yeah, you said it all. You know, when we look beyond ourselves and our situations, and we begin to see things in the eyes of our neighbors. You said it. The moment you're able to solve a problem, you're able to make money.
Hmm.
So, what problems are you solving? The smaller the problem, the smaller the money. The bigger the problem, the bigger the money. So, find out what problem you're
Yeah,
creating to solve, and go out
yeah,
there to solve it. Make that
yeah.
step. Make that move. You said your and whatever you see money as, or whatever exchange, or whatever value you see in a thing, that's money. Money, like I often would tell people, I said, relationships are the ships we ride on to destiny. Meaning, if you have no friends, there is no ship for you to ride on. You can't get to where you
Right.
want to be. Sometimes we ride on people's shoulder to get to where we want to be. We don't have to do the same groundwork or legwork they did. We don't have to
Hmm.
put our hands into some dirty things, but we learn from them because they're holding our hands. So they're not
Hmm.
allowing us to stumble. They're showing us the right path to follow. So that's why
Hmm.
it's in life you need mentors. You need people around. Who are the people
Yes,
speaking into you? Who are the people guiding you? Who are the three, four, five people you surround yourself with? These
right,
are critical factors that determines what tomorrow can be for you.
right. And you don't need that many.
No, no,
You
not
know,
many. That's what I'm saying. No.
lots of businesses make a terrible mistake when they think that their product or service is for everyone. Even when it's true, you have to identify a small group
Who are your
and serve
niche?
them first. A niche. You need a niche because if your product or service is for everyone, that really translates into it's for no one. Because what it does to you is it means nobody else can talk about it. Like you tell me about your business and you describe it in a way that's for everyone. Well, now I don't know who to share it with. I don't know what network to recommend you to. I don't know how to refer you to the person who could change your life because it's too nebulous, it's too vague.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Cameron, for making the time. I actually wanted this video to be shorter than this, but the question, propelled us to stay longer than we planned. But it's all exciting, it's all good. Thank you so much, Deborah Taylor. Thank you, everyone, for being on this show. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Harmony. Thank you. I just want to thank our viewers because they're the reason why we come on this show, and it's one good thing. Let's go out there to spread it so that others can learn and glean from those who have been ahead of us. So that
Hmm.
sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just find the people in your circle of influence doing same thing you want to delve into so they can guide you, show you the pathways, and easier you can get to where you ought to be. Thank you so much, Mr. Cameron. I would
My
say
pleasure. Thank you for
do
having me.
have a great and a restful weekend. Bye, everyone. If this is your first time on this show, please kindly subscribe and hit the notification bell so that whenever we're on this live show, you can get a prompting. Thank you so much. Bye.